Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the ClutchTalk podcast / YouTube / We Do It All. As always, I'm your host, John. Very happy to be here. My boy Jay, he's over there in the six. How you doing, baby?
I'm doing very happy to be here, Jay. Basketball is back in full in effect. We ready to talk hoops, and we got a lot of things coming up, Jay, that we got to talk to the fans about going into the regular season. So let's get into it, man. Let's do it.
Man, let's get straight right into it. And Jay, let's not jump over the fact that you had a wild night last night. You saw my boy Luka out there cooking live in person, man. So before we even get into that, Jay, talk to us about how it was it. How was it over there at the Raptors arena watching Luka go for a triple double almost?
Yeah, Scotia Bank was a vibe. First of all, the energy in there is amazing. We were able to sneak down there, not sneak down there. We were able to get down there pregame and check out the warm up, see Luka's pregame routine. You know, Fred VanVleet, OG Anunoby, all those kind of guys, and it was cool just seeing what they go through on like before the game. And Luka, the one thing I noticed in his pregame and Fred as well, it's just how slow. And you never see it till you see it up close in game and as well in their warm up. Is that they're moving so slow. It's because the game's just so slow for them. They know where they want to get on the floor, and Luka was just dissecting in the defense. I felt like anywhere he wanted to get on the floor last night, Jay, he was getting there. It just a matter of was he making the shot or was he making the right pass, because he could get anywhere he wanted on the floor.
Wow, Jay. Wow, man.
Operating.
Hey, y'all, Jay texted me last night. He says, Luka is, in all caps, operating. I was weak, man. I was weak. But definitely a great opening week. We just witnessed of NBA basketball. So basically for the fans, what we got today is, today's Sunday, October 24th. What we got today is we're just going to talk about this opening week that we just witnessed of basketball. Some of the games we saw. We already put out an opening night recap episode, so if you want to see that just on opening night on that Nets Bucks and Lakers Warriors game, make sure you go check that out. That was our last episode. That was a pod special, so make sure Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, make sure you go check that out. But let's go from Wednesday, October 20th forward. So Wednesday, Jay, was the first day that we was like, man, NBA basketball is back. We had 11 games. A jam-packed day full of NBA basketball. What to you was like some of your favorite games? What were some things that you took away from that day, Jay?
Yeah, so I got my list here, Jay, and the first game that comes to mind was that Hornets-Pacers game. And man, oh man, I think that was the first game to start it off as well. And I just saw the emergence of LaMelo Ball, not the emergence, just the continued development of his game. It just felt like at any time, he's another player who at any time I felt he could get whatever he wanted against the Pacers. Remember they were down, the Hornets were down about 23 at that point, and led by LaMelo as well as Miles Bridges, Humdiddly-Doo, or whatever you want to call him, bro. They led that comeback with the likes of Kelly Oubre as well. And it's just, amazing comeback, that grit, that determination of why I had them as my ninth seed for the Hornets. But man, they're off to a great start, and I think I could see them being even higher than the ninth seed. Maybe I was selling them a little short, but they're looking like a play-off team, not a play-in team right now. Just with that grit, that determination, having Gordon and Hayward back in the mix, adding Kelly Oubre to make them deeper. And honestly, looks like PJ Washington's getting played out of that lineup. But then on the Pacers side of things, Chris Duarte, man, he's looking like a steal for the Pacers, an absolute sniper, tons of confidence. I believe he had 20 something his first night, 27, I believe, on his 27 is his first game. So that was one of the first games that I had in mind. And then obviously the Celtics and Knicks was the next one I have X'd on that. But what you got on the opening night for the rest of the league, I should say.
So man, Jay, I have to talk about, I don't even want to be a hype beast, but I got to talk about that Celtics and Knicks game because, Jay, that's everything you could want for a Knicks season opener, man. We're talking about double OT. Jaylen Brown goes off for 46 points. Julius Randle goes off for 35, which, by the way, he's on my fantasy. So go Julius Randle. Evan Fournier goes off for 32. Spike Lee, Tracy Morgan in a building. It was just everything you could want, man. A jam-packed night. But Jay, before we get into the positives, I actually want to talk to you about a takeaway that I had from that game. So we know Jason Tatum, lethal scorer, elite player. But in that game, we saw he wasn't really having the greatest game. You know, he had 20 points. I believe he went 2 of 15 from 3 and 7 of 30 from the field. And Jay, I had a question, that I had to run by you, and that's Jay. When do you think that Jason Tatum could tend to get way too tunnel vision at times? Because you have to realize that at a point, I'm not hitting. This isn't my night, and you have to be able to be mature enough to give it up to a Jaylen Brown or give it up to these other players who are having a better night, even though that Jason Tatum might be the number one option. And I know that sometimes history says shoot yourself out the slum. I think Jason Tatum tried to do that and shot them out the game. So how do you feel about Jason Tatum and his tunnel vision sometime? Would you like to see him give it up a little bit more or continue to be aggressive like that?
Yeah, two things on that front. Number one, great players we've seen in the past. If you're having an off night, we saw it from Stephen Curry on October 19th, the opening night against the Lakers. He didn't have the shot going, ended up with a triple-double because he knows that if he can't get it going, you got to get your other teammates going or you have no chance of winning. And that's something that Jason Tatum did a few times last year, but inconsistently. And if that's the case, I feel like he has tunnel vision sometimes. He just feels like hasn't got to that level of maturity with you see like the LeBrons, the KDs, even Giannis, getting to those assists, getting your teammates involved when you don't have it going. But I feel like Jason Tatum hasn't developed, which brings me to my second point is we've seen it all, everyone saying, from the past is Jason Tatum is the Batman, Jaylen Brown is the Robin. Well, I'm here to say, Jay, we could see Jaylen Brown being that Batman and Jason Tatum being that Robin if Jason Tatum doesn't step it up. Because obviously with the performances, Jaylen Brown had a bit of a stinker last night. But before, there's times where I feel like Jaylen Brown might have everything it needs to be that 1A on a championship team because he's been doing it all. He wants to take those shots. He's got the grit. He's putting in that work defensively too, getting in your best guys. And that effort's always not there from Jason Tatum. But what do you think about that, Jay?
Jay, I'll tell you what, man. I know that's a hot take. But it's not a ridiculous take because, in my opinion, what I think is going to happen over there in Boston, I think that Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are going to emerge as two stars. They're already emerged, but they're going to keep rising as two stars, and they're going to hit their ceiling of being together. They're going to have to part ways. I don't think Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown could really work together. They're way too similar of players for them to be able to work together on the same team and bring success. So, man, but Jay, for the fact that you said that brings me to my next question is, if Jaylen Brown was a 1A guy, do you think he could carry a team to a championship though? Because, we see this, we see him putting in the work. We see him doing this, but it's a bit easier to do this when Jason Tatum is the focal point of the offense because your point is not far off. Your point is not far off. With Jaylen Brown being there, but I feel like most NBA teams still consider Jason Tatum the focal point of the offense, and they still focus most of their defense on Jason Tatum, which leaves a lot of open room for Jaylen Brown. So, do you think Jaylen Brown could carry a team to a champ, or not carry, but you know what I'm talking about? Take them to that, that promised land run on being the main guy.
Yeah, that's a tough question, John, because if you look at it like this, he hasn't really had the opportunity to have the full keys. And like you said, Jason Tatum's always been along his side. So until we've seen maybe, I hope no injuries, but if there's a time when Jason Tatum's off, not playing, and we really get to see Jason Tatum like last year, Jaylen Brown, like last year with Jason Tatum, when Jaylen Brown was out, he couldn't get it done in the playoffs. But if we get to see the same for Jaylen Brown, then I could have a better answer for you. But from all indications of it, he has the tools defensively. He's always locked in for the most part. And offensively, it looks like his jumper just continues to develop because we've always known he's been a slasher. He's going to put it on your head. He's going to be dunking on you. He's getting to the rim whenever he wants. He has the size. He has the weight. He has like the physical attributes in terms of the wingspan to be a great defender. So I have no reason to believe he can't be a 1A, but it's just a matter of seeing it if he gets in that situation.
Wow, Jay. Yeah, I mean, you just proved it. He has everything in his bag to become the 1A, but will he become the 1A? Because theory is different than practice, man. So let's see it. But Jay, I love that. Jay, I love that hot take. Jay, I gotta talk about. I don't know if this is really a hot take, but while I'm watching that Knicks game, I thought to myself, I said, man, I'm really liking this little punch that they got Kemba starting and then D Rose off the bench, because in my opinion, D Rose is a starting caliber point guard. And now you got him coming off the bench, punching you in the mouth right after Kemba comes in there. And I thought to myself, boy, oh boy, I think the Knicks might really pull off something special this year, man. Jay, how are you feeling me on that? Or do you think the Knicks are going to be able to pull off like a top 4 seed with this with this 1-2 punch, or was that me being a bit too optimistic on the Knicks?
I think the Knicks could be a top team, but here's where I draw back and I'm a little hesitant to throw him in that 4 seed. I think Tom Thibodeau, despite it being a successful coach in the regular season, I think there's times where I doubt what he's doing, his game plan, his strategies, his lineups, because there's been times where even in the Celtics game, I thought where he could have put them away. He had all the right tools. Like you said, the roster's deep. They got D Rose off the bench. They got Emmanuel Quickly if they want to play him. They got a lot of tools at their disposal if they want to put in that work. But they couldn't close. I mean, there's no reason that the Celtics game should have gone into overtime. There's no reason. They should have closed that out in regulation. And for whatever reason, there was a time when they didn't know how many fouls they had to take. There was a time when they couldn't get the ball over half court. And as much as it's players, there's strategies that you can put into effect. There's need to know things as a player on the court that should be addressed by your coach. So there's no reason why Tom Thibodeau should be letting those things happen at the end of the game. So that's where my hesitancy is with Tom Thibodeau and getting the Knicks back to that 4 seed, despite having all the skills and all the players at his disposal to be, a top 4 caliber team in the East.
Okay. All right. And then Jay, you think Randall takes another big leap this year? Because I think he's about to take another even bigger leap than he took last year.
Yeah, I think Julius Randle could take another leap. But I think it's going to be dependent on what the other guys outside of him are doing. But I know you want him to take a big leap because you got him on your team. So that just might be a wishful question right there.
Wishful take.
Wishful take for your fantasy squad. Just so everyone knows, again, I'm going to say John has him on his fantasy team. So he's trying to get him to go. I had him last year, but Julius is a boy. Like he has those big games with the nights that he's inefficient. I think it's a lot to do with, I don't even know why at the end of the game, they had been moving the ball. They had been getting good looks. And then at the end of the game, they had Julius Randle going ISO. There's very few players in the league. Doesn't matter with the defense loaded up against you, going isolation at the end of the game. There's only a select few who can score. And that's not anything knock against Julius Randle. That's just how it is. It's so tough to score against a defense loaded up, expecting you to drive, throwing a double to you if you're spinning or you turn your head away from the basket. There's a select few. So I don't know why Thibodeau is going to that at the end of the game, running isolations for Julius Randle. That's not a recipe for success, in my opinion.
Exactly, Jay. Not only is that not smart for Tom Thibodeau, that's not a smart play for Julius Randle to be running out there, man. But Jay, let's talk about one of those players, one of those select few that can score whatever, whenever, from wherever. Let's talk about that man, Wardell. Oh my goodness, Jay. 9 for 9 in the first quarter. At the end of the first quarter, he was just standing there like, give it to me, 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 give it to me. Jay, that game was crazy. like honestly, like we are gonna look back in history and be mind boggled by this moment. Kobe did this one time. He went to do it when so I believe we had 30 points in the first quarter, went like 10 for 10 or something like that. Everyone looks back to it and it's mind boggling. We witnessed history, Jay. That was some insane shooting. Talk to me about that 45 triple dub game.
That 45 piece, man. Double. But I mean, man, there's nothing really Steph can't do on the court. And I just last year, I thought, man, there's no way that Steph could have a better year than what he did last year, that historic run. But man, this year's just proven to me he can do more, man. Steph just puts himself in situations to be successful. And I think he's just slowing the game down more. There's times where even how crazy is this saying, there's times where he would have taken a bad shot, or realistically, there's never really a bad shot for him. But there's times where he would, settle for a jumper when he could get to the rim. And we saw the maturity and growth down the stretch there in the fourth. Obviously, he had a crazy first half, crazy first quarter, slowed down a little bit there in the second quarter. Was a little bit non-existent for the third quarter up until the fourth quarter, where he started to do his damage and get back on track. And that's where one play in particular was against Marcus Morris, where he had him on the switch. He knew, obviously, Clippers had made their adjustments. They were in him, shading him to the right, knowing they don't want him to pull up. I wouldn't say he put Marcus Morris in a blender, but he had him on his toes. He worked him, got into his bag, and then was able to spin for an easy layup on him. And that's just a development where times where he would have just, maybe shake, tried to get a jumper from deep, a bad shot. But just that maturity and that growth, getting his teammates involved and just having taken over when times before, maybe he wouldn't have taken over. But bro, he's just playing on a different level. It's MVP season, in my opinion. That's my early candidate for MVP, because he's playing at that level and he just wants it. It's a different grit that he's playing with this year. But how'd you feel about that, man? I know you watched it late. You watched it on replay.
Jay, that was definitely a top performance that we're going to see this year, man. Like it's definitely going to be hard to top a performance like that, man. Like I know we got some great players in the league, but man, that was, I think, one of the performances of the year that we're going to be talking about at the end of the year, man. But Jay, man, I mean, let's be real, man. If he is playing like this, if he continues to play, and I know no one in the NBA can keep up this play every single game, but if he can stay around this level to where he's he's such a threat on facilitating, man. He's out there running, he's out there hitting. If he can continue to play like this, Jay, and Klay Thompson can come back 80%, Jay, the league needs to watch out. The West needs to really watch out, because that might be a Western Conference champ. If Klay can come back 80% of what he really was, and Curry continues to play like this, and Wiseman can come back and develop into the player that we're thinking he's going to develop into, watch out for the Warriors to be Western Conference champions, because that was just some scary basketball. And it wasn't just Wardell. That's the thing. It wasn't just Curry out there hitting. No, it was the ball movement. The ball movement was still beautiful. That's one thing that I looked at, right? So we watched that first game between the Lakers and the Warriors, and one thing that we talked about, we noticed, was the beautiful ball movement by the Warriors. And I was like, as I was watching this second game, I'm like, man, let me see if the Warriors are still going to have that beautiful ball movement, or was that just one-time thing? No, continue. Back cuts, lobs, all of that, man. Draymond Green out of the post, throwing his passes. Moses Moody, also a huge facilitator for that team, man. So Jay, I think I have to honestly change my take. I had him a little high. I had him at 6, but if Wardell was playing like this, they could easily be a top 4, top 3 seed in the West, and potentially even take the West, man, because that game was impressive, Jay. That game was impressive. All right. Yeah. Anything else you want to add about that, Jay? Or
No,
you
I
want?
mean they were always a top 4 team in my opinion, but
Mm-hmm.
this just making their ceiling a little higher. Like you said, just looking at them as a Western Conference finalist, potentially just being an NBA finalist, because they're just playing at that level, and just knowing that they have those pieces missing is just so exciting. Because man, this, they're just
Fun
playing
team
at
to
such a high
watch.
level. Yeah, yeah,
Fun
fun
team to
team to
watch.
watch. I'm excited for the Dubs, being a
Ex-
Dub fan myself. So
Extremely fun team to watch. All right, man. So, Jay, you know that we wouldn't be an NBA podcast if we did not talk about that meltdown, boil down. I don't know what that was on the Lakers between AD, Dwight Howard. Ooh, that was just ugly. I have absolute no problem with fighting. You can fist fight, you could go at it, but that's in the locker room, that's in the bus, that's behind closed doors, man. You don't break down and turmoil within each other in the middle of the game with millions of people watching, man, around the world. So definitely not not concerned about that, because that's two grown men. They're going to squash that. They're going to squash their issue, but definitely that shows a sign of weakness within the team that now other teams can exploit. And that if I was another team, I would continue to exploit. I would continue to get on Dwight Howard. I know you gets in his feelings, man. So Jay, talk to me about how you felt about like that issue. Is that something that you think is just going to blow over, or is that going to be bigger than what it is?
I'm not really concerned about that. We saw AD and Dwight kind of making up for it and the like later on in the game. But I just see that is an issue. If that's happening and you're already in game 2, despite it only being game 2 of an 82 game season, having that happen so early is not a good look, especially against a team like the Suns who had them frustrated all night. And I want to talk about that more. Is I felt like from start to tip, the Lakers just look rusty. The continuity is something that I was already worried about. We talked about it on after opening night. You talked about it on SMH is podcast as well. So you're concerned. I'm concerned as well. We still haven't seen a strong game from Russell Westbrook. There's pieces that are missing, but you're talking about Trevor Ariza, THT, guys that I don't really see. They'll be in the rotation, but they're not going to make up that much. THT, we don't know what level he's going to be at when he comes back, but there's a lot of question marks that I have about the Lakers. Do they have that continuity? Is the leadership there? Obviously, LeBron's a great leader, but sometimes I feel like LeBron can be almost too positive in the sense where you need him to be that mean guy, like knocking on doors saying, "Hey, what are you doing to help this team win, to be a championship team that we should be?" And is Frank Vogel making those guys, putting them in the right positions to win? I don't know, Jay. John, what did you see in that Suns game? Let's just jump right in. What did you see in that Suns game? Why were they outplayed?
Man, I mean, the number one thing, like the Lakers definitely just had a bad game. This was just overall a terrible game for the Lakers. I'm not blaming the refs, but the refs definitely, absolutely got to do better.
On,
no, Jay, you got to watch the game. You got to watch the game. You got to watch the game, Jay. The refs have to do. I'm not saying the Lakers would have won. The Lakers had a bad game, but the refs absolutely got to do better. Absolutely got to do better. Steve Jamie, the NBA ref official, was on the TV talking about how Austin Reeves got fouled and did nobody call it. And this was so many times throughout the game. Not blaming, not saying the Lakers would have won if that would have happened, because they already had it. They had a bad game. I still have worried about chemistry. But then again, I remember to myself, this is still an 82 game season, and I have a lot more issues than I did in the beginning, because now, if you're fighting in public, it's a bigger issue that's going on in my eyes, man. Because again, like I said, it's all good to fight in private, but if you're fighting in public, man, that shows the crack between your team. And to me, that's showing a sign of weakness. But with all that being said, I still have no doubts that the Lakers are going to be the NBA champions in my mind, because I still think that when you get to a 7-game series after playing an 82 game season, after they work through all these kinks, they work through all these bumps, it's just very hard. And I don't see any team in the league possibly beating them in a 7-game series, because in a one game, thing, absolutely anything could happen. Anyone could win. But in a 7-game series where you got to beat them 4 times, you got to beat them more than they got to beat you. I just don't see it happening with that lineup that's out there. But then again, let's see if the Lakers are even going to be able to get to have a healthy lineup, because I'm saying that's if we have a healthy lineup, and we know that the Lakers have an extremely vet heavy team. And this is my prediction from what I've seen in the past from these players, from what I've seen from the past from the Lakers, and that's it, man. But I mean, realistically, the Lakers definitely have a lot of kinks they got to work through. Biggest of all is just figuring out where to fit in Russell Westbrook, man. Definitely a great player, but I'm starting to believe, does he have a spot on anyone's team in today's NBA to be effective, to be extremely effective? And I don't know, I don't know, to be effective enough to win games, not just effective enough to be, have a couple of, be a little positive on your plus minus. I'm talking about to be effective to win games and win championships, and not have your weakness take away so much of the game, man. So I'm starting to have my doubts on Russell Westbrook's place in this league, honestly.
Yeah, Jay, I'm feeling with you right there with you on that. What state I'm from, but I'm not. I'm from that Texas state. I'm from that show me state. So the Lakers got to show me that they can be this championship caliber championship team that you're talking about. Because so far they're 0-2. I know it's 2 games into the season. They got another test tonight against Memphis. Recording this on the 24th, October 24th. But man, until then, until you talk about this championship team, I don't know if I can see that for them. I had them as my 3 seed. Right now, they're looking like a 5 or 6 seed in the West. Memphis looking like they're ahead of them right now at the level they're playing at, and that's who they play tonight. So let's see. Show me that you can be that team. I believe they got all the pieces of the former Hall of Famers, but maybe like Chuck was right that they're 2010, they might have been a better team. I don't know. That's just how it's looking right now, but I could be wrong, and we shouldn't jump to any conclusions after game 2.
Former Hall of Famers, so they're not going to be Hall of Famers anymore, Jake?
In their prime, I should say. Former Hall of Famers. Of course, they're going to be Hall of Famers. Jay. Come on, man. Come on, man.
All right, man. So then, Jay, let's talk about some of these teams. I know it's early. I know it's 2 or 3 games into the season for most of these teams. But Jay, let's talk about some of these teams that you've just liked so much, man, that you've been like, boy, besides the Warriors, this is my team this year. Who's that been for you so far?
The Grizzlies are looking like a great team right now. The Grizzlies, like I said, are playing at a high level, led by Ja Morant. I expected him to take that leap, but man, they're looking tough. They're looking like a team to beat. And then another team I got to shout out is a team who I had higher than y'all higher than you and Greg in my rankings was the Minnesota Timberwolves. I expected that D'Lo, Anthony Edwards, and Cat, if they're all playing, they're healthy together, they're going to be a tough team. I know they haven't really been tested schedule-wise, but man, they're playing at a high level, and I'm expecting them to do some serious, if not making the play-in game, winning some tough games on the road there. And then the East, obviously the Bulls with that 3-0 start, they played Detroit twice, but they're looking like a hungry team, ready with that lineup. Lonzo's looking great. DeMar's looking like he fits right in with them. And then Zach LaVine doing what he does. So those are the 3 teams that I have, just who've made an impression on me. But who you got in the West and the East?
Man, for me, Jay, honestly, when I was writing this list, I was just so centered and so focused on the Bulls, because I've been so excited to watch the Bulls, and they've just been so fun that honestly, I need to walk back my take that we did on the preseason rankings. I believe I had the Bulls in my top 4 seed. Nah, dog. Like I'm telling you, the Bulls stay healthy, there could be call me crazy, a top 3, top 2 seed in the East, dog, because they are just such a complete team. You talked about Zoe being a defensive guard, pushing the pace, Zach being a 3-level scorer, Vucevic being a unicorn, Patrick Williams, ultimate role player, DeMar DeRozan, you mentioned it, Jay, pure bucket getter. And then you have Derek Jones Jr. as AC off the bench. That's an extremely, extremely complete team. And I know they only played Detroit, but in the first game they played Detroit, they held them to 88
and
points.
The Pelicans.
Okay. They only played Detroit and the Pelicans, but in those games, the defense has just been extremely scrappy. The offense has been just unlimited. They have so many ways to score that I just see so much potential in that team, Jay. I'm rocking with the Bulls this year, Jay. Don't be surprised.
No, I'm with you on that, but I just think it's way too early with the Bulls. Just in the terms of they played the Pistons twice, they played the Pelicans, John, and then they got coming up. If they're after they play the Knicks, they play the Jazz and the Celtics, then the Sixers again, then the Nets. Man, then we could make a better indication of where they're at because they got 10-game stretch here, who's going to be tough. They also got the Warriors in that mix as well, so they're going to have some good tests where we can see more if they're going to be a top 3 in the East, top seed 3 in the top seed. Because right now I still have them as a 7 seed, but to start off 3-0, that's a great start, especially with that that new team that they got, that new starting 5 relatively. To have that confidence and build that chemistry is a great start.
My fault, Jay. I'm just trigger happy, Jay. I'm just trigger happy. I'm just keep trying to pull the trigger.
No, I feel it. You're excited though. That's an exciting team. Don't get me wrong. That's an exciting team over there in Chicago.
Definitely. But all right, Jay. So then, Jay, we have to talk about this top 75 list real quick. The NBA released it. Just real quick, Jay. Who are some snubs that come to mind right away, or are there any surprises that you're like, man, this player made the list just right away that come to mind?
Real quick about the top NBA top 75 is it's a tough situation because, the whole reason I think that they make the list is obviously to get people talking. They want us to be talking about this. So obviously there's going to be some snubs. There's going to be some people that we should have made it. And even maybe that they left off because it's former players who definitely have a bias. There's no reason why I think that Dwight Howard shouldn't have been on that list. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He led his team to the finals over there in Orlando. But I think a lot of people don't like Dwight. But for this top 75, I feel like it's so hard to compare players who played in the 50s, the 40s, 60s to players now because it was a totally different game. So I feel like you should have the top 50 who made it when they had the top 50 anniversary list, the 50-year anniversary list. Those players already right away should be on it. Then you add 25 just to avoid that kind of that confrontation of judging those players from the past to a game that's completely different. So that's where the list is kind of tough to me to decide and to decipher. But there are the few busts that are
surprises.
What do you call it? Surprises that didn't make it. Yeah, were Clay. I thought it should have had a spot on there. T-Mac and Vince are the ones I can think off the top of my head. But who you got and what do you kind of think about this whole list?
So, I mean, Jay, honestly, the first thing that you said about the older players should have their own list, I could not agree more. I know that the NBA part of the criteria they took into this is influence. It's not only just skills, influence. So I know that's why they had a lot of the Bob Pettits and those older guys. And honestly, I'm all hats off to them. I respect them. But at the end of the day, like, let's look at the footage. Like, they were dribbling like head down, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we got guys coming down court, like shooting one leg, like, you know what I'm saying? Just the craziest skill. The NBA is at the highest skill of all time. So I absolutely agree, Jay. There's a lot of players that got left off because of that. The original players, one of those guys that got left off is not a newer guy, but Mutombo, man. I think that Mutombo should have definitely been on the list. I mean, we're talking about a Hall of Famer with 8 All-Star selection, and he's tied with Ben Wallace for the most defensive player of the year, and he's not even on there. I think that definitely is a snub. Another one, I said this. I said this on the Super Mario Hoops podcast, and he didn't agree with me. So Jay, tell me if you think this is crazy or not. But I think that Tony Parker should have definitely made that list, man. I mean, we're talking about a 4-time champion, a one-time NBA Finals MVP, a 6-time All-Star. But most of all, for most of our lifetime, Jay, we've known the Spurs to be a competitive team, and Tony Parker's been the point guard, the leader. Everyone says that the point guard is the extension of the coach on the court, and he led him throughout that entire dynasty. And also, I just want to add this in there. If Chris Paul makes the list, Tony Parker should make the list, in my opinion.
Ooh, I think you got a good case there with Tony Parker. I don't know for sure if I have 75 players ahead of Tony Parker, but this just goes into the case that the 50 are those older players who were compared to Tony Parker, and we talk about that influence. We talk about how they were pioneers of the game. I think it's tough to leave a guy like Tony Parker off the list. A four-time champion, if I'm three-time champion, if I believe.
Yeah.
It's tough to leave a guy off the list like that, and I think you're right with what he's done. And CP3, a guy who's never won a title. Not putting that value of titles, but titles do mean a lot at the end of the day.
Especially if you have four of them.
And to do what he did, leading that team to those titles as well. So, man, it's tough to leave a guy like Tony Parker. I'm gonna go with you on that, but it's just the criteria. Like they said, they want to get people talking and people discussing. But I mean, there's a lot we could digest about this top 75, but. I mean, it's about how much deep you want to dive into it.
Exactly, Jay.
Got time for that.
Exactly, Jay. So then let me just ask you this last question about this top 75 list. Jay, you said T-Mac. I really want to put T-Mac on there, but my only problem is I just feel like the injuries plagued him. Injuries plagued him a bit too much for him to make that list. But to you, is that did his performance that he put out there in the time that he was it enough for you to make that top 75?
Nah, I mean, now that you mention the injuries, I think that's a big knock against him. And not a knock, just unfortunate for him that he had all those injuries, derailed his career. Ultimately, we never really got to see what he could have been without those injuries. And unfortunately, there's a lot of players like that. One, I'm thinking of my guy Brandon Roy over there.
Man,
there's no wonders what he could have been, because he was a boy. Like he was just unguardable, a shooter. Just a modern day player earlier than the game was, at this level. But I think, for T-Mac's case, that's a good argument about him not being healthy and at the level that he could have been at. We all know he could have been at.
Man, that's definitely unfortunate for T-Mac, man. But definitely was a great player that all hoopers know and respect, man. And as long as you got your peers respected, you're all good, man. But all right. So then, Jay, as we transition here, Jay, just real quick, we wouldn't be able to call ourselves an NBA channel if we didn't talk about this Ben Simmons and Kyrie saga. Just real quick, Jay, like, do you got any? I know we talked a bit about that in that opening episode, but do you got any like new feelings, anything that you've been feeling about this whole situation? And also, real quick, Jay, if you had to put your life saving on which one plays first between Kyrie or Ben Simmons?
Neither. I don't want to lose all my money, but man, I'm thinking right now, maybe Ben Simmons, but not for the Sixers. I know he came out and said that he had his mental issues, and we gotta respect that. I don't know the basis of that or what's going on with him. I hope he figures everything out. But I don't know if it will be with the Sixers, but I think Ben Simmons has a better chance, because Kyrie is really firm on not wanting to get that vaccine, and I don't think that's changing anytime soon. So the only reason I have to believe is that Ben Simmons will get out there and play basketball at some point this season before Kyrie.
Man, I gotta believe it too, man. I gotta believe it too. But one thing I want to add on this Kyrie situation, just because I heard Shaq say this the other day, man, Kyrie's being selfish, dog. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to sacrifice as a team to win, and KD sacrificing in his own way, James Harden sacrificing in his own way. Every single person on that team is sacrificing, and Kyrie can't sacrifice to get that vaccine. Man, I mean, you call it personal reasons, whatever it is. In my opinion, that's just straight up selfishness, man. That's just straight up selfishness. I'm tired of seeing that shit from Kyrie. Tired of it, man. But all right, Jay. So, Jay, before we close out, I have to put this on wax real quick, Jay, because if I'm right, I gotta go back. I'm gonna clip this. I'm gonna post it, Jay. I got a way too early MPI prediction. I know me and you, we talk off camera, and we were saying we got Jordan Poole for MPI. I gotta switch it up, Jay. I have Cam Reddish for MPI. You called it. You actually called it over the offseason. You said he's gonna have a crazy takeoff year. He's gonna have a good year. And honestly, I didn't really believe you until I've been watching these first two Hawks games. Yes, Cam Reddish is turning into that boy, and I think that he's gonna have a huge leap. And I know JP is gonna have a huge leap this year too, but he's gonna have some competition. He's gonna have some competition over there going against Cam Reddish. So, but you still got Jay Poole as your MPI, just to put it on.
Okay, no, I like that Cam Reddish take. Yeah, but I still got Jordan Poole. I feel like he's had two tough games against two of the top grittiest teams in the league with the Lakers and the Clippers. National TV games, and I think he had. I think I look at last game against the Clippers, and I actually looked back and watched some film on that. And despite what the box score might say, I don't think he had a bad game, as bad of a game as I originally thought he had. And I think against the Kings tonight, that's the best game to break out, because despite how well the Kings, they've had two good games. They beat Portland, and then they played the Jazz tough on Friday night. But I think Poole is still my guy for most improved player this year.
Okay. All right. I mean, hey, Jay, it's not a bad pick at all, Jay. It's not a bad pick at all. But all right. So as we close off here, Jay, we NBA season has returned. We just talked about this little opening week recap that was very fun. I'm super excited to get into all this NBA content with you, brother, like throughout the season. But let's just real quick let the fans know like what we got coming for the season. So just for all the fans, so you guys are on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, man. This is what we got planned, man. We are bringing back Hidden Takes this year. For those of you guys that don't know what Hidden Takes are, that's 10 to 15 minute episodes that we're going to drop 2 times per week, and we're just going to be talking about some of the recent games, news, and just like recent Ben Simmons stuff and Kyrie, or just everything. Some highlights and key performances, and the drop dates for those will most likely be Monday or very beginning of the week, and then there will be a one at the end of the week, which will be on a Saturday or on a Sunday. So make sure you guys stay tuned for those, because those are just going to be quick little digestible pods you guys can take in. And then we're going to have one longer debate style episode, and that's most likely going to drop more in the middle of the week, more on a Wednesday, on a Thursday. So just make sure you guys stay tuned for that, because we got a lot of content coming this year, Jay. We got 3 episodes per week coming to them, Jay. So they need to stay tuned, huh, Jay?
Yes, sir. And also, we going to be breaking down. We're going to be doing our picks sometimes during the week, and we're going to be breaking down. We're going to, like we did with the Warriors game, we're going to be doing post-game just breakdowns of what we saw in those games, maybe on a Thursday night or a Friday night of the TNT games, or like the ESPN games that we pick out as our game of the week. So y'all stay tuned, man.
Y'all stay tuned, man. I'm telling y'all, and Jay, we've been talking behind the scenes, and we got a lot on the way for you guys. Stay tuned. This year is going to be the year of prosperity for us over here at Clutch Talk, man. We're going to take off, lift the roof off the place, and have a great NBA year, man. So, brother, I wouldn't want to do it with anybody else, man. I'm so happy to do this NBA season with you, my brother. You ready to get into the season?
Yes, sir. We right here. We in the middle of things. We just getting taken off, and I'm excited, man. I'm excited, Jay.
Yes, sir, man. So for all the fans, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and that's it, man. We out here, y'all. Clutch Talk out.
Peace.